Hello and welcome to video number 1 of me adapting an Eaton M90 off of a Jag onto this 2.9 V6 Ford engine. It might work, it might not, I don't know. What I do know is the video quality of this one's going to be a little bit rubbish because I started with an older camera, then I bought a newer camera, and then I worked out the settings on the newer camera. But this video will be a poorer quality. Anyway, I hope you enjoy it. And this has got to run now because I've spent way too much money on it. Bring on the hate. I think we'll start by machining up some plugs for these injection ports and taking down or boring down these mounting holes so I can get a nut on, and then I can machine this lower because everything needs to sit low so it all goes under the bonnet. So let's machine that. So I've just cleaned all them up, made them a bit weaker, more possibility of them actually popping out now on boost. But it does look bad, doesn't it? I might have all this blasted again afterwards to make it all look proper. One thing I have also noticed with this, I haven't got a heater in this car, so I don't need any of this. So the next plan is to take them out and block them up. Well, I might keep this one because I've got a temperature gauge which is cardinavigator, and I'm going to thread this hole, I think, because when that's on the car it's going to sit like that and it'll look a lot neater with the temperature, all the wiring coming out this way rather than out the top like that. So that's my plan now. That one slid out lovely. So now I need to go and make a bung, block up that hole, probably block up these two as well. That one needs to be adapted for the thread on that. Whatever that is, not far off, I reckon. I'd just be able to tap that. Ideal. I wasn't convinced that this was these holes that I've made deeper here were going to either suck themselves in or blow themselves out on boost. So I got a bit stabby with a screwdriver, and I think you can see it went through. So I'm glad I did that before bolting it on and trying it. I don't really know, I think I'm going to have to make some sort of half sleeve, bore that out a little bit bigger and weld the sleeve in, which is just going to give it another excuse for somewhere to leak. But that's the only way I can think of getting around that. So if you weren't following what I just said, or just explained, I've machined this out to a lot bigger diameter, which has obviously made that hole bigger. But now I'm going to go over to the lathe and I'm going to turn up an insert to go in here. I've also drilled these out 13mm, so I can make something that will slot into there. I'll just bang a weld around it and then machine this top flat so it suits everything else. I've done that on all three. So there's the piece that I've just turned up. You can see that's just going to push into there, and I'll trim all the excess off, put a weld around it, and that should give a nice thick hole. It's not likely to blow out now. I think that was worth doing. That. It's a weight off of my mind. I've just got to do it 3 more times now. So I brought this down further 8mm, and you can see I've welded those sleeves that I've made in and machined that down with it. I'm going to put some weld on the inside here because I'm not convinced that it's going to seal and it's just going to blow down into the valley where the oil goes. We don't want that. So I'll seal that up with a little bit of weld. Now it's lower. I've also done the plate. It goes on there. Something like that, which I've got a weld on as well. And then I'm going to build off of that with that. Weld some of that on. Make the sort of plenum. And then I do the top bit to suit the blower. And they'll all go together. Hopefully. We'll see. So that's the plate done. I've loosely bolted it up. Got all the holes in the right place, which I'm happy about. So I have been known to mess that up occasionally. That is going to sit on there. Weld it round. And that is the blower mounted. Next thing I have to do is mount this. This is a bypass valve. Some people say you don't really need that, but I think it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. So we'll put it in and allow for it. It needs to sit about there at an angle like that, pointing that way. Just because I can't get it to sit flat. It'll sit there and off center, but then I can't put no advance in the distributor, which I probably won't need to, but yeah, we'll put it there. I think that'll work fine. So that's the main body that that's going to sit on. Done. I'm now going to turn this bit of old motorcycle fork so it sits in that hole, so I can line it up, drill the 3 holes. So I've pressed that spigot in there, and then put that on, drill these holes, thread them, bolt it down, mark round it, and then trim the excess off. That's it, bolted up. Now I'm gonna scribe around it and then try and cut it and machine out the bits I don't need. And then I've got to machine an angle into it so it'll sit down where I want it, and then weld it on. There you go. Bit more material moved. It's not the greatest finish, but I'll tidy that up with a flappy disc. Look at that. Wham, wham. Lovely job. We don't need none of that 12-axis CNC rubbish around here. Oh no. So that's the spacer done for the bypass valve. I've cleaned it up. I'll clean it up a little bit better yet, but for now that's good. That's going to sit on top. I've also taken the lettering off the bolt heads and polished them up because I'm weird like that. So now I need to find out what angle that's going to sit at and then machine that angle into this block so that it will sit in the right place on the manifold and then bore down through that top plate. That, I can't remember. I think it wants to be like that. Yes, it does. Right. Put the angle finder on it. That to 0. It's got to go around like that. And that's got to sit like that. So that's about 12 degrees. Yeah, that's better. As close to the blower as I can get it. Finished welding the plate on and the bypass valve mount. Totally forgot to drill that hole in there before I welded the plate on, but there'll be a way around that, I'm sure. Yeah. Let's hope that hasn't warped. Next thing to do is make this radiator hose attachment that goes on the thermostat housing. This one comes out at that angle, but it needs to come out like that. So I'm going to make this flange part, bring it out to about there with that chunk of aluminium in there, and then I'm going to make another piece and just weld it in at the right angle to the manifold and the rad hose. There's the main part of the body done. I've drilled the holes in it as well, nice and smooth in there. I've noticed on this one that it comes out straight to miss this bolt hole. So I'm gonna have to make a long piece of tube with that barb on it, cut it, bend it to the angle I want, and then weld it in to that after I've machined it to suit the tube. So now I'll make the tube. So I've marked the angle on there. That's going to bolt up like that somewhere. I'm going to weld this in, and then I'm going to cut this. Well, I'll probably cut this first, bend it to the angle that I need, and then weld it in and around, file it up, smooth it out, and then cut around these edges to match that. Beautiful. That's it, pretty much done. You see there, is it more of an angle? Clean up the inside, polish the outside a bit better. Let's bolt it on. So I just cut all new studs for this manifold. Let's put it back on and get it running with the carb. Oh. I'm getting excited. Right. They all look okay lengthwise. Let's put the gasket on with some gunk on it and get it going. I am going to call that a success. There's no water leaks, there's no oil leaks, no vacuum leaks, and we got a good, well, we're around 13.7 there, so it's what it was before with the carburetor manifold on it. So that gets the big thumbs up. Now let's take it apart and put the blower on it. So moving on, we're going to do the inlet now and address the elephant in the room, which is fuel. I'm going to put a carburetor on this. Now they say not to put air and fuel through the supercharger. These are an air pump. They're designed to pump or compress air into a fuel injected system. The two reasons I can see why you're not supposed to put fuel through it is the coating on the rotors in there. It's got some sort of Teflon coating, and that can wear off. But you look at a blower off of a Jag that's done a few miles and they're starting to come off anyway, even with the air and no fuel. So I'm not really worried about that. I'm probably going to speed up the wear is all I'm going to do there. But I don't think it's going to be detrimental to the motor. The next worry, which is more worrying, is the needle roller bearings in the back here. They say that putting fuel through it will just wash the grease out of the bearings. So I did buy these seals. I was going to machine the back of the housing and fit these in, but the stub on the end of the rotor is not very long, and if I do that, there's not going to be a lot of it sat in the bearing. So I've kind of ruled that out. And then I thought, for a car that comes out 10 weekends of the year, if that, I could just change the bearings once a year. But I looked, and those two bearings are £93, so we're not doing that every year. Absolutely not. So I've bought the equivalent, but open-ended. I've made the flange for the back so it covers the bearings, so we're closing the ends off still. Drilled a hole in the centre. I was just going to put some sort of grease nipple or something in there, or a way of greasing it every now and again. Just pump a little bit in, and we'll try that. We'll see what happens. Flange is done. Carburetor wise, I was going to use this. This is a Holly 390. I think this is the smallest 4-barrel carb you can get. This is off of a 3.5 litre Rover V8, so jetting wise, we're not going to be far off. I was going to mount that there, like that. Was being the word there, because that is dog ugly, isn't it? Look at that. And look at all this electronic. You can get these without the electronic choke, but this is all I could find, and that is horrendous. I can't do it. We'll rule that out. So I've bought these. These are off of a Rover as well. This is P6 Rover SU carbs. Same 3.5 litre. So jetting should be right. Obviously there's two of them, left and a right hand side. SUs are kind of easier as well. But I don't know. Today's problem is, do I mount them like that, like they are on the V8? Or like that? Side by side. Or like that. So we're going to put the bonnet on and have a little mock-up, I think. Yeah. So, do they go like that? No. No. Yes. Or like that. One of the two. They're on the Rover like that. That one would have to go that side because of the linkage, but yeah, I think that would look better. Did buy as well these aluminium bends to go on the back of that. So I'm thinking that on there, and that could be as low as possible. Oh, it's still tight. Yeah, that's going to be tight. I might have to come out straight. Yeah, I'm going to have to come out like that. It's all a big learning curve. I reckon that's how it's going to have to be. Straight. That's fine. We'll come out straight. I don't like these flanges on the carb because I've drilled them straight through. I should have threaded them and used studs. So I think I'm going to remake those. I've got a square piece, 160mm long. I think I will turn it so that I can sit that where it will sit on there. Also got to allow for that bypass valve, which I keep forgetting about. I'm going to get right around that. It's already tight. This is why I wanted to do the drive first. Okay. Plan now is to remake the carburetor flanges out of that. So they're threaded holes with studs rather than through holes. recessed it inside there, just so that will fit inside and I can square either side up to each other. A little bit of excess top and bottom here. Bottom I'll just square off. Top, I'm going to put some fins in it to make it look nice. You're probably watching thinking, why did he just do that? Well, because... Ta-da! A little bit of detail goes a long way. Ow. Good stuff. Much better than that anyway. Ugh. Now, I need a little jig to make something to hold them at the right width apart where they need to be. And I can cut the centre part out and join it together where it needs to go. Put the tube in for the bypass valve, and then that is that done. Easy as that. How long will that take? 10 minutes? Just whacked a bit of threaded bar in there with a few nuts on it. Hold it still. Stuck a carb on, and I've tried it in there. I'll show you. Put the light in there to sort of make it so you can see. I think we're going to be sat about there. Look how close that is. I'm glad I took that extra 7 or 8 mil off the manifold. Yikes. Cool though. Just mocking up the inlet manifold that I've made. I didn't get a lot of chance to film it because it's been Christmas, New Year, I've been ill, and all the other excuses are in the book. But it's done, and this is going on, and it's not hitting the bonnet, which is good. I know I'm definitely getting better, because at 3:30 this morning I was awake thinking you need an extra carb, and for the last 4 days I haven't really given monkeys about this, so we're back. That is decent. Have a look. You can see what I mean. It's close in there. I think when I left it I only had the bends, didn't I? A bit of threaded bar through them. I cut them, bent up a piece, welded that in, and that is it now, with the carbs bolted up. I think that looks a lot better than that 390. A lot better. Whether it works, we'll find out. I've got to put this piece in now for the bypass valve. I might make that today, I don't know. I still feel a bit ill, so I might go home and cry. Actually, I think I'll do that. I'm back. I'm feeling a bit better. I've just made that. This is for the bypass valve for the inlet manifold, and it fits right under here, tucked in there, perfect sort of angle. Get a bit of hose to connect those two up, and that should work spot on. So there's the finished manifold for the carbs bolted up. I've welded this piece in for the bypass valve now. Smoothed it all back up. I've got to do the linkage for the carbs and the fuel inlet, which hopefully I can change that and put a 90-degree bend on the fuel inlet. I'll worry about that later on. You can see that. Hopefully that gives a bit more of an understanding as well about how that bypass valve works. Basically, when you shut the butterflies off on the carb, the vacuum will open that valve and it'll just sort of circulate round itself So that's not working too hard and getting hot. Right, I've grabbed a couple of hours today just to make this joint for the two carbs part of the linkage. I did buy these carbs with the manifold and it had all the linkage chucked with it, but I've increased the distance and the angle, so none of that's going to work. And it's still rattling around on the floor of the van, so I'll never find it all. Yeah, just made that. I bought a couple of ball joints like that. Left and right hand thread so you can twist that and set the carbs up pretty much perfect. And it seems to work pretty well. But being a massive linkage pervert, I've got to drill some holes in this now just to satisfy my head. So back in a minute with that. There it is. 2 horsepower, I reckon, gain there. Can't tell me that doesn't look better either. Thanks for watching part 1. Next time we'll go into the drive and we're going to rebuild the carbs and change the fuel line. Hopefully I can get a note out of it. And get it running. That'd be nice. I don't know pulley wise what size I'm going to go for yet. It's a bit of a try one on and see what happens. But stick around if you like that sort of thing. There's all sorts going on here. I've always got a project or someone else's project on the go. Keeps me busy. Yeah, I never ever thought I'd be here on YouTube talking to a camera in the garage. It feels really weird, but a lot of people have said I should do it, so here I am. Let's give it a go. Stick around, like, subscribe, do all that, and see you next time. Thank you.